Hello, and welcome to another episode of Acceptable Madness. My name is Scott McKinney, and today I am going to be talking about socialization. I almost called this episode Introversion, but I didn't think. I'm like 50-50. I feel like I'm pretty split right down the middle for being an introvert and extrovert, but it all really depends on what kind of mood I'm in that particular moment. So I didn't feel like that was an appropriate title. So I settled on socialization. But basically, what I'm going to be talking about is how I deal with actually going out and talking to people, even when I don't want to, or when when my brain's really telling me not to. So I actually have what might be some people's favorite story that I haven't gone into yet, that I'll talk about a little bit in this podcast. So, I guess I'll just jump right into it. The thing that made me want to talk about socialization and why I wanted to make this episode about it instead of anything else was actually on this past Friday, I went and I hung out with my brother, who I have a very good relationship with my brother. His name is Mike. And, we got together, we played some games. It was me, him, and then two of his friends. I had never met them before, but I would say after the evening, I would call them friends. I mean, we had a good time, and it was fun. But I will be completely, totally honest about this. But I usually don't go out when people ask me to come. Now, that's not just my brother or, my family, that's friends, that's basically anybody I've ever really been associated with. And there are a lot of reasons for that. A lot of them lie in the... really quick, I want to make a tangent. Sorry about my voice. I don't know if it's allergies or if I'm coming off of a cold or something, but it's been cracking a lot, and it's a little bit raspy, so sorry about that. But, as I was saying, I don't know what the main reason is for why I have been, or why I'm inclined to say no when people ask me to hang out or anything. I don't know if it's the fact that I'm usually an introvert. There are times where I blame it on the fact that a lot of my hobbies, the things that I like to do, such as writing, recording a podcast, reading, stuff like that, it's a lot of stuff that I typically do by myself. I mean, there are times when, like, Alex will, my girlfriend Alex will be, like, playing a game or something with me, and I'll be reading next to her or something, so, like, I've done, I can do those hobbies in the presence of other people, but typically they're still very independent things. So sometimes, like, right now I'm reading Dracula, and I've been really invested in it. It's a hard read just based on the English, because it was made in 1897, so it's a huge change from the stuff that I've been reading. But it's a really good book, and it's better than I expected it to be. So, if someone were to ask me to go out and do something while I'm in the middle of reading that, I mean, maybe it'd be selfish to say no, but I might be inclined to do so. One of the other reasons, which is, I think, more truthful, but I have a little bit of low self-esteem when it comes to me putting myself in a group of people, especially when there are people that I do not know. So I went to my brother's, and there were two people, one of which I had kind of met before. I mean, we didn't really even have a conversation, but we were like, we said hi to each other, probably shook hands, I don't know. But we knew of each other. And the other, I had no idea, I didn't know anything about. And again, both great guys. But I just had an apprehension. And I think part of the reason for that is the fact that, I have depression. And what that does is that changes a lot of the thoughts that go through my head. So for me, having depression, one thing that's done for me is my view of the world is not as innocent or sweet or nice or kind as what some other people might feel. So the jokes that I make can sometimes be a little bit dark. And so one thing that I really worry about when I go out into a group of people, again, especially some that I am not familiar with, is offending people by making a joke that is not appropriate for the situation or that could leave people with a bad taste in their mouths. Now, I don't want to make any examples right now, mostly because the jokes are circumstantial and situational, so, they come out when they come out, but that's something I've always been really cautious of, is I'm really bad and I really hate meeting new people, because it's hard to go out and find people that are going to accept exactly how you are. Now, I know a lot of people have these thoughts, regardless of what kind of mental health or, what qualities you have. Everybody has these apprehensions. It's hard to go out and meet new people. For me, though, it's never felt... it's definitely hard, but I feel like the difficulty, again, comes from just the thought process and the low self-esteem regarding it. So, I don't want to go out and I don't want to offend these people and make these jokes, because for me, knowing my brain, I know that, say I go and I make one of these inappropriate jokes, and I don't think it sits well with the room, and the people that are there don't necessarily seem to love it. What I know I'm going to do is, for the next month, every day, I will think about it and regret it and wish I hadn't done it. And it won't, and those thoughts won't stop after a month. They will come back for probably the rest of my life at random times that I don't want them. Because in my head, it's well, this person, I offended them, and this person will always have this begrudging hate for me. Now, logically, I know that people will probably forget and never think about that again. But I'm not like that. I'll continue thinking about it forever. So I really don't want to put myself in a situation where I cause myself to cause myself some reason to regret or something else. I already have too many other dumb little stupid things that run through my head that I already regret, even though I know I shouldn't and should forgive myself for, and I don't want to add to that. So that's one reason that I don't want to go out and talk to these people. The other thing is, sometimes it's just really hard to get out. It's hard to get out of bed in the morning. It's hard to want to go and talk to these people, especially when you're not feeling your best. If I'm feeling particularly down, and I feel like if I walk into a room, I'm not going to be uplifting, and the people around me are going to feel worse, or they won't be as happy if I'm there because I am not as happy as I could be, that's another reason I won't want to go out. Now, that might even be the time when I know I need to go out the most, because, I'm not feeling very well, so I should stay in. But really, if I'm not feeling very well, it might be a good idea to go and be with people that can be uplifting in a time when I can't be. And this is when the story that I have will come up. So there was this one time. It was my sophomore year of college, and I was a resident assistant. So if you don't know what that means, that basically means I was the one that if someone on a floor in the building that I lived in had any issues, whether it be with their roommate or I don't know, if their refrigerator stopped working, then I would be the one that they came to. Well, there was one day, and I would say this was the peak of when I realized, just sophomore year of college, freshman to sophomore year, this was the peak of when I realized, hey, wait a second, my brain there might be something going on up there that I should that I should have someone look into. But one night, I was feeling particularly down. And I didn't even realize it, because there are times when you really just don't see it coming and you don't realize it's happening. But there was an obvious light bulb turning on over my head moment on this particular evening. So let me paint a picture for you. It was 11 p.m. on a Friday, and I was sitting in my apartment in my underwear, watching Jackass 2.5, I think. I don't even know if that's a movie, but but it was watching one of the Jackass movies, and one of the lesser ones. And all my lights were off. I don't think I had left my room that day. And my snack / dinner was an entire cucumber that was unpeeled. I don't know if I had washed it, but I was just eating it whole. I didn't cut it. There was no seasoning on it. I didn't even like salt it. I don't know what you do with cucumbers, but I didn't do anything to it. So I was just sitting there in this like depressing state, eating this cucumber, watching a movie that I was not enjoying, while other people that I, whether they're residents or friends that I had, they were doing something with their friends or having fun or something. And I took a second and I thought about what I was doing in that particular moment. And I was like, okay, I'm just sitting here and I'm not having any fun, and I'm eating who the fuck eats a cucumber like this? That's ridiculous. And then I thought about it and I was like, oh my God, I need to get out of my room. And so I did. After I put clothes on, I left my room and I just went to see what was going on in my building. And lo and behold, a few of my residents were I think they were watching a movie so I lived on the 4th floor and they were down on the 2nd, and there was like this big lobby to do stuff in. And they were just playing games and watching a movie. And I was able to go down and, I had a good relationship with these people, so it wasn't like I was unwelcome. Actually, one of the people that was in that room that I walked down to was Alex. So I walked down and joined them, and we talked a little bit, and I really didn't say much. I was, again, clearly if I was in a position to just sit in my room and eat a cucumber, I was not in the best position to talk to people, but I was really grateful to be out of my room. And I was super uncomfortable about it too, because I didn't know what to contribute to a conversation. My brain had just hit this wall where I was unable to talk to anybody about anything. I was just stuck in my head to a degree that was so severe that I couldn't make any amount of small talk sucks, but I couldn't even make any meaningful conversation either. I really couldn't contribute too much to the movie that they were watching or the games that they were playing, and I didn't want to either, because if I said something, I was worried I was going to be overly depressing. I was worried that, say they're watching, it doesn't matter. Say they're watching any movie. I can be very overly critical of movies. And and I have a lot of fun doing it. I like finding what I think are flaws in a movie and talking about them with my friends. And but I didn't feel comfortable doing that, because I knew that if I'm in a regular, in a better mindset, and I watch a movie and I can be overly critical of it all I want, I can do that. And I'll just be talking about it in a way that you can understand that there's some level of fun, sarcasm when what I'm saying sometimes. There's a lot of inflection in my voice, but I lose that ability once I feel overly depressed. So I was worried that if I said something about the movie, that it would just come off as this complete and total draw from the energy around me and just ruin everybody's moods. So I went down and I had what I think was an awkward experience, just sitting there watching this movie and not saying much, but it was exactly what I needed. I didn't contribute to many conversations. I didn't say much, but I didn't need to. I just needed to get out and be by people. And it wasn't even like I was thinking oh, I need to go and be by these people or else I'm going to kill myself. It wasn't like that. It was this weird state where I wasn't happy and I wasn't in a more level mindset, but I wasn't erratic either. I wasn't worried about doing anything drastic or harming myself in any way. I just needed to get out of my own head a little bit. And the only way I could think to do that was to get up and walk around. And I just so happened to stumble upon people that were doing stuff that was more fun than sitting in your room in your underwear eating a cucumber and watching Jackass. And I mean, I can look back and reflect upon that night, and it's a funny story to tell because it's weird to just be in that situation, and Jackass and cucumbers are just, that is inherently weird. But when I look back at that night, I really think about the fact that what I needed at that moment was exactly what I kind of got up and sought out, which was people, socialization, familiar faces, people that, even though I couldn't be happy, I could be around people that could. And there were two thought processes that I could have had, which was be jealous and envious of the fact that I'm not happy like them, or just try to enjoy their company and appreciate the fact that there are reasons to be happy, whether it's just watching a movie or talking or being with your friends or whatever else. Just appreciating it all. And so I went down, and I don't remember what we were watching, but I remember that night fondly. I think of the earlier part of the night as something that I still occasionally hear from Alex because it is kind of funny. But it really was a good night just to get out and get out of my own head. And actually, I'm actively in the job search process right now because, as many of you know, I've gotten laid off. And I'm in that same kind of position that I was in my sophomore year of college, or at least I've felt that starting to happen, where I've been kind of confined to my apartment. Not like I'm being trapped here, but I don't really have as many reasons to get out and go do stuff, even if it's stuff that I might like, other than like going to the gym or going to the store and grocery shopping or something. Like, there aren't many things that are really pulling me out of my apartment. And so whenever my brother asked me to go out and do something on Friday, I mean, part of me was very, very inclined and willing to say no. But one, I had said no so many times before that I really didn't want to keep saying no, because it's not like I don't like hanging out with my brother, pardon the double negative, but like I do like hanging out with him. It's just a matter of, it's hard to kind of get myself mentally prepared for it. And that's the case for hanging out with anybody. Like, all of my friends, I definitely, I don't think I see them as much as maybe I should, or as maybe they see their other friends. And maybe that has to do with the introversion. But I do think that a lot of that just kind of goes back to the whole, like all the other reasons that I have a hard time going out and talking to people. The uncertainty of the evening, you never know what's going to happen unless there's like a set plan. But if there's a set plan, then it's probably not going to be fun. And if it's not fun, what's the point of going? Because if you're going, you want to go have fun. So I don't know. There's some rabbit holes that you can go down for that. But I don't know. I do think socialization and getting out and talking to people is something that's really, really important. And they don't even have to be the most, like, close relationships either. Like, I went and I talked to my brother, who I do have a close relationship with, but it's not like we were having heart-to-heart conversations the whole time. We were just having a good time. You know, we had a few drinks, we played some games, and I was with two people that I barely knew or didn't know at all. And we didn't have any, like, heart-to-heart conversations. We just bullshitted for a while. We played a game called, I think, Snake Oil Salesman, and it was just a lot of fun to come up with random stuff. And it was the kind of thing that makes me, and in that moment it made me, you know, get out of my comfort zone, get out of my head for a little while, and just be grateful that I was out of my apartment for the first time in a while. So, I don't know. It was just, that experience made me think of just how helpful socialization can be, but it also makes me, and I'm aware of this every day, of how hard it is to go out and talk to people. I think it's so much easier to talk into this microphone, as I'm doing right now, or even for me, and I know this is kind of an anomaly, but I love getting up on stage no matter what the context is, and talking to people. You know, if I could do stand-up comedy or give a speech of some sort or anything, I love getting up on a stage, as long as I'm not singing, because I don't love my singing voice. But I love getting up in front of people and just talking. But that's like talking to people. And don't get me wrong, I love doing this, and I love doing the podcast, and I think it's great. And honestly, it's a huge, like, just stress reliever for me, and I think it can be a helpful thing for other people. So I'm not saying that I don't love doing this, but it's a different experience than going out and having a conversation with someone. Completely different. So, you know, if I'm standing on stage and we'll use stand-up comedy as an example. If I'm on a stage and I'm performing stand-up comedy just to a group, there's no real back and forth interaction except the laughter of the audience or the booing of the audience. Probably booing, because I've never done that before. But there's not a lot of, like, interaction, and it's definitely not heart-to-heart interaction. You won't have a conversation. And that kind of takes the pressure off of the whole self-esteem thing. Like, I can go up on a stage and I can make a fool of myself. That doesn't matter. I can do a terrible stand-up routine. I could be the worst inspirational speaker you've ever seen in your life. And if that's the case, no one will remember me. But if I do really well, people might. But if I don't, people won't. I was in college and I gave a speech, and I was honestly trying to make a joke out of the whole speech class. And I gave a speech on why you should bathe in applesauce. And I thought it went really, really average, but like the topic itself was so ridiculous that it was fun to do. And I don't know. I don't think that a lot of the people that were in that speech class will remember that speech one way or another. But I personally, and now maybe I could be wrong, but I feel like if I'm having a heart-to-heart conversation with someone, just one-on-one, and I say something that offends them or upsets them or is like totally out of place or out of character, I feel like that's something that's remembered. And maybe that's naive, maybe that's a weird way to think of it, but like if I say something and I royally offend someone, then that offense is directly correlated with me, Scott McKinney. But if I'm on a stage and I do a terrible stand-up comedy routine, then I really don't think a lot of those people are going to go home and think, you know what, Scott McKinney's an asshole. Like, he's terrible. He's not funny at all. I think they're going to go home and be like, well, that stand-up, that was not good. That was not fun to watch. And I don't think they're going to sit there and really think too much about the individual on stage. So, I don't know. That's part of the reason that I have such a hard time getting out of my apartment sometimes. It's hard to go and do those one-on-one conversations or be in a group or be in a place that's like, you know, outside of your element. I really, something my brother does, which I'm very, I don't want to say envious, but I respect a lot, is he likes being involved in the community. So he'll like do a lot of the different sports groups around here, or he's musically talented, so he's in a few of the different music groups around here also. And he's made so many friends up here, and he's been up here for a while. So it's not like he was able to just move to a new location and just immediately have this wide range of friends. But he's lived in an area for like, I don't know how long, probably 5 years. And he just has this ability to go out and meet new people because he's so comfortable with putting himself out of his element that he can just dive into whatever. Now, I also know that talking to one of my sisters, that she is not as comfortable with going to a new location and branching out and making friends. And it's just something that's difficult. I'm in that same boat. I have a really hard time making friends. So I currently live in a place that's close enough to where Alex goes to college and where I used to go to college, that I already have a completely formed friend group that I can hang out with. Now, in May, So, well, I guess a month from now, half of my friend group up here is graduating and moving away. And I know I'm going to struggle with that. Even this summer, the people that are around here, that go to college where I'm at, which is Erie, Pennsylvania, doesn't matter. But the people that go to college up here, they're not going to be around for the summer. And I'm going to have 3 months of just trying to figure out what to do with my time. And I know I'm going to do a lot of reading. I know I'm going to spend a lot of money on books. Hopefully at that point I'll have a job lined up so I can dedicate a lot of time to that and writing and this podcast and blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of stuff that I can do by myself. But I really have no idea what I'm going to do with how I'm going to really communicate with people or actually socialize. Besides diving really far out of my comfort zone, or staying a little bit closer to my comfort zone and like doing stuff with my brother who's already in these groups. So I already know that, the quality of these people are decent. So, but my brother and I have very different interests. He's not into writing or reading like I am. So for me, if I think about the type of people that maybe I want to get to know, then maybe the reasonable thought would be I should branch out and go to do like a book club or something, or do like a writers group. But I also have a lot of thoughts and hesitation with that. And honestly, part of the reason is I've met a lot of other writers, and my writing, just like my humor, can be a little dark sometimes. So I have a hard time. I'm a little less comfortable just showing it to people, especially face to face. Other than people that I've been sharing my writing with since I started like 2 years ago. So I don't necessarily love doing that as much. But the other thing is I feel like a lot of writers, or a lot of people that are really trying to better themselves, at least in my experience, this is clearly not, this is not targeted or anything, and definitely not representative of an entire group of people. But in terms of like writers, I haven't found that many that I've been comfortable sharing my writing with, and I haven't found that many that I have thought were a positive force in my writing, where like I haven't been able to share my stuff with someone and have a conversation about it and walk away feeling good. Now that's just for like people that also like to write, and I respect everybody that likes to write, just because I like when people have a hobby and just when they're doing something that's not just watching TV or taking a nap. I don't know, but excuse me. I like when people do stuff. I like when people use their time well. So I have a respect for anybody that likes to write, or anybody that really has a hobby. And you can make TV a hobby, but I personally just think that having a creative outlet such as like filming or studying it is more important than just like passively watching it. So I'm not bashing TV either, but what I'm saying is I haven't really found a writing group or writing friends that I have been 100% happy with, or people that I thought would actually better my skills or better my perspective or challenge my opinions in a way that could potentially better mine, or change them, because I'm more than willing to see both sides of a coin, or I'm more than happy to think and reconsider my opinion, or just have an educated conversation with someone. Like, I hated the book Brave New World by Aldous Huxley. I thought I was going to love it because of the fact that I love dystopian books, and I think it's great. But I thought it was one of the just worst heaps of shit I've ever read in my life. And I'd love to sit down and talk with someone about why I think that. But I don't really have people that I can do that with. So the original point that I was saying was, with this summer coming up, I don't know if it would be better for me to go and try to make these friends that may or may not pan out because I haven't had great experiences with writing friends, or if I should stay a little bit closer to my comfort zone and do more stuff with my brother, even though we have pretty varying passions and interests. So there's a lot of confusion there that I'm really not sure how to go about it. So that'll be something, I guess, to keep you posted with. But ultimately, the goal is finding people to socialize with. And I mainly mean in person also. Over the phone or like FaceTime or Skype or whatever you use, it can be good. Texting to me doesn't really do it, especially because there's so much confusion that can be passed in text. You can't indicate sarcasm or show what your actual emotions are. So I'm a little bit hesitant to say that texting or email how old am I? Jesus. To say that like that those forms of communication are really conducive to a good relationship. They're good for keeping up and having conversations and show that you're thinking about people, but I think you can have a much better conversation over, the phone or in person. I mean, imagine if this podcast was completely written down and you were just reading it. Personally, I feel like you'd feel nothing, especially because I don't know how you'd text the sounds that just came out of my throat, but I just don't think the effect would be there. But socialization is really important, and getting out of your comfort zone to do so is hard as shit. And I know that because I'm experiencing it, and honestly, it's something that everybody will always experience. If I get a new job, I say if, like it might happen. When I get a new job, it'll be hard for me to talk to those coworkers, because there's automatically a filter applied to what I can say and what I can't, because you need to be appropriate with your colleagues. Not to say that I'm an inappropriate person, but I need to watch myself so I can't overstep anything. And I can't say anything unprofessional, which is fine. But what that means is you're going into you're going to talk to these people, and there is a filter that can potentially make the communication less free. So like if I'm going to go and talk to my friends, or I'm going to go talk to Alex or my siblings, I don't really apply a filter to myself. I can say whatever I want, because no matter what, it's already been tested. Like I can say whatever I want, and these people will still be my friends or family or blah blah blah. So I don't like the fact that I have to go into work and have these kind of restrictions, because it makes it hard to build a relationship. If I'm gonna have a relationship with someone, I want it to be one that's free and one that I feel like is beneficial for both me and the person in it. And if I feel like I'm being restricted in my speech, then I don't think it's necessarily the most beneficial for me, because it feels more like a chore. No, that's not a good word for it. It feels less gratifying than talking to someone without that filter. And like, even if, okay, so say you find this coworker that you have a good relationship with, and then you go out to like happy hour or to dinner or something after, just as friends, and you're hanging out. You still can't remove that filter, at least not too much, until you really know what kind of mentality they have, and that takes a long time to figure out. So you still can't, even outside of the work environment, it's still hard to figure that stuff out. So it's really good to find these people that you can be totally free with. And that's why, I've referenced a support system a lot while doing these podcasts, and I really do feel that having a good support system is one of the most important things when struggling with your mental health, or really anything. Even if you don't have any issues with mental health, just finding people and knowing people that you can talk to is, to me, one of the most important things that you can have. I mean, it's just, you can always find those people that have always had a very open life. Their parents were open with them. They had these good relationships, and they're the people that it doesn't feel like they're hiding a lot under their surface. And I'll use myself as an example. I've had a very open life, and where I didn't feel like I had to hide my thoughts or opinions or anything from my parents or siblings, because they were all very accepting. And that has led to a really good environment for me to grow as a person and as whatever I end up becoming and what I currently am. It's just a good environment, and that support system has been good for it. And so whenever I talk to, whether it's my parents or siblings or friends, and I have this openness, it's just the conversation is so good. And it's just something that I savor every time I have it. I never feel like a conversation that I'm having with someone that I have this tried and true relationship with is wasted. And even though there are times when I really struggle to get myself out of my apartment and go talk to these people, even whenever I'm fighting with myself and like, well, I should do it, but I really don't want to right now. And I have all these like second thoughts about it. I don't like to, I don't know. It's just important to always, cherish the socialization that you're actually getting. And if you can have fulfilling conversations with people, if you know that you have this group of people that you can talk to and you can force yourself out of your comfort zone, then it can be really helpful. If I'm just sitting in my room eating a cucumber, watching Jackass in my underwear, if I can throw some clothes on and go talk to people, then that'll put me in a better mood for the next however long. I mean, going down and talking to someone, or even just sitting there and being in their company, is a much more satisfying thing than eating a cucumber in your underwear. That's what I can say. So it's not always easy getting out there, but having that group of people can be important. So even if you don't have it right now, like I know I'm not really going to in the future, especially this summer, I think it's worth going out and trying to find it, even if that means putting yourself out of your comfort zone and potentially going through the struggle of making a fool of yourself in the process. Now, I don't want to go out and offend people with inappropriate jokes or writing or humor or anything like that, but I do think that it's important to go out and at least try to find people that I might be able to tell these jokes to and they won't get too offended. So everybody has their things, and no one's going to go into every conversation, even if they've never met someone, without some apprehension. There are times when I go into conversations and I'm feeling incredibly introverted and I won't say a word and I'll walk away and I won't remember that person's name and I'm sure they don't remember mine. And then there are other times where I will go and be extremely extroverted, and the reason for that, I'll never know. Maybe it's because I'm surrounded by more people than I know than I don't, or maybe it's just because I have this weird mindset at that exact moment that's just like, fuck it, what's gonna happen? I don't know what the reasoning is, but it's not always easy, and I never know what the outcome is going to be, but sometimes it's worthwhile. But having socialization is important. I spend a little bit of time on Reddit, Facebook, on social media, and it's easy to get sucked into that and feel like you're, part of these people's lives. But really, for me, it's a lot more gratifying to go out and actually meet with these people, even if you have to force yourself to do it occasionally, and try to have an experience that way. So, thanks for listening to another episode. Follow me on Instagram, on Facebook. I post like once every 2 weeks, so, that's exciting. And I hope you enjoyed it. I really do hope that you can take something away from these podcasts. I mean, even if you think that the lesson is bullshit, but you find my voice soothing, so be it. I hope that's the case. Well, I also hope you can take something away. But regardless, even if you don't and you find my voice soothing, then that's taking something away. So it's a win-win. Win-win-win. So, yeah. I hope you have a good week. And enjoy the rest of forever. God, I'm terrible at sign-offs. Jeez. Bye.